this is the latest Remnant fly, a streamer kind of fly, similar to another Remnant fly I did not too long ago that has a mallard flank up in the front. It started out as kind of a clousery thinking looking thing, and I actually like the way the Schlappen and the mallard flank in the back turned out. Mallard flank's a little bit long, but I like how that all turned out swept back for a minnow body. This I'm not certain, because I'm also not certain just how it's going to perform and look in the water. It may end up being too gangly and just doesn't work, but like I said, it kind of turned out pretty neat if you were to even take all of this out. I like this part here, but that's just it with the Remnant flies. You're never certain exactly. The ideas and the thoughts and what you think it's going to look like in your head don't always come out on the vise. So that's the latest Remnant fly, and I'll get started tying. I'm going to start the latest Remnant fly here. This is going to be kind of a streamer pattern. This has got to be a Mustad S72, something like that, saltwater hook here. I'm going to say in a size 4, pretty big, a lot like a 3366, but it's what I ran across. So I'm going to use that hook. I think I'm just going to go with the Danville 6/0 thread on this in black. You could probably do something a little bit more, but I'm going to stick with the black. I'm going to attach my thread. Before I do that, I will actually show you. See, Danville 6/0 in black. Attach my thread about an eye length behind the eye of the hook. I have some dumbbell eyes I'm going to tie in. Originally, I wanted this to be kind of started thinking of a clouser kind of fly when I ran across that hook, and then this is pretty certain it's a Wapsi presentation eye that's been painted black. Probably a medium size, a little on the large size. I want to give myself a good eye length behind the eye of the hook and the dumbbell eyes, because I'm going to finish off with a few wraps of mallard flank right up behind those. So we'll see what that does. I'm going to tie that in. Like I said, this started out as kind of like a little clousery looking thing because of the dumbbell eyes and everything, but then morphed into almost a hybrid woolly bugger clouser kind of thing. Put a little head cement on the thread wraps there just to help secure those in place. The tail on this one with the black eyes and the shiny hook, I'm going with just a simple black and white for high contrast. So I'm going to use some Marabou, some white Marabou here. I think I'm going to go with 2 Marabou feathers here. What I want to do is kind of match up the ends of those and then stroking that down, getting that together. I will, if I can do this right, and get those grouped together. You could tie these in one at a time if it's a little easier for you. Matter of fact, I think that's what I'm going to do. They're a little bit more secure that way. And I'm going to go with this a little bit longer, maybe the length of the hook. One thing you got to be careful if you go too long with the Marabou here is that it can get wrapped into the gap of the hook. It'll wrap around and foul up. I'm going to trim this a little long. Let me get my other feather, collect that together. Could have done this in a black and a white or something. Wanted to have a tail on this that had a whole lot of action to it. And I'm going to wrap this down in. A few wraps here, trim that a little long. So I have a little bit of an underbody here. The body itself is going to be pretty straightforward in that it's some chenille. I'm going to wrap some black Schlappen on this in an open spiral. And then I'm going to tie in a Mallard flank right back here, palmer it around, and then tie in another one up here. So I'm going to use some white chenille for the body on this, but I am going to tie in a black Schlappen hackle. I want the Schlappen because I'm looking for something that's going to have a lot of action to it. I've got a nice long Schlappen hackle. I won't even probably use all of it because I want to keep this kind of not short and sparse, but a little bit less because I just want the black is in here just for a high contrast. Now I'll take my chenille, I'll tie that in, wrap this all the way just almost to the dumbbell eyes. Attach my hackle pliers, the chenille, giving that a twist to tighten that up so that it will go on and won't have any flat spots in it. Then I'm going to wrap this around, tight up in front of previous wrap. Tie that off. Notice I'm trying to give myself just a little bit of a gap behind those dumbbell eyes for my Mallard flank. No idea how this is going to turn out. Well, I obviously have an idea because it's kind of in my head what I think it's going to do, but we shall see. I'm going to use my hackle pliers again because it just gives me a little bit easier reach when managing this. I'm going to stroke these barbs rearward, start wrapping that in. I want to get one wrap right in the back, and then I'm going to open this up to maybe about 4 wraps. Yeah, see, that's long, but that's where we're going to go with it. Just those 4. Put a little collar up there. Maybe a hen hackle would be better than all this long Schlappen, or at least a narrower Schlappen feather. But again, this is for high contrast, the black in here. Streamer bite is going to be coming on here for the smallmouth. So things like this are what stand out. You get bait fish that are about 1 to 2 inches, 1.5 to 2 inches, and that's what they're keyed in on. So this is where I kind of got the thought of doing something similar to a Gartside soft tackle, which kind of popped in my head anyway in terms of doing that beforehand. So I'm going to take this Mallard flank feather, and I'm going to stroke a lot of those barbs rearward to isolate the tip here. I'm going to tie that tip in right where I just opened it up. And I'm just going to fold this back. I'm not going to even cut that out. Get my thread right up behind those dumbbell eyes. I'm going to palmer right around there. Not palmer, I'm just going to collar this in. And I only want to get a couple of wraps, maybe. I don't want a whole lot. Again, high contrast here. What I'm looking for, I'm not looking for. There we go. Probably longer than I need. I'm going to back off one right there. So now the thought was to do something and get my thread up front and put something in just a little short hackle right there. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, I got some mallard flank feathers in this group that aren't really even flank feathers, they're just a lot of fluff. I'm going to take some of this fluff off of here, use that for some dubbing. And what I want to do is just real quick dub over, crisscross between the dumbbell eyes and try and cover up those thread wraps and get this whole thing up in front of those dumbbell eyes. Tie in a short mallard flank. See, that just kind of completes that a little bit. Real quick. I want to find a kind of a short, sparse, maybe even a little bit darker mallard flank, something like this one right here, that I can kind of go between the lighter stuff and the darker stuff. And I'm going to, again, isolate that tip out here. This may not even work the way I want it to. I'm going to cut that tip off and just wrap that in right behind, front of the dumbbell eyes and right behind the eye of the hook. That's some of that dubbing that is coming out. I'm going to get a little bit more of this fluff here. Just peel that off. Those ends is all you need. Use that for some dubbing. And just cover this up right behind the eye of the hook. Kind of taper that down just a little bit like that. Now I can take that mallard flank, and this is probably going to end up sticking out 90 degrees up front here more than I like. So this may not be the way to go, but it'll be interesting to see what this does in the water. I want to actually kind of palmer that, open that up into wraps to where I get this right up behind the eye of the hook. Anchor that in, wrap that in, clip off the rest of the rachis right here, and then take these and just fold them back a little bit and make a little bit of a head like that. I did another remnant fly recently with these right up front. They don't look too swept back right now, and maybe they won't in the water either, I don't know. I think they may end up pulsating a good bit in the water. Again, the idea being that The whole thing in the water will travel and kind of look like this as the whole thing is sweeping in the water. With the current and everything on it, it'll all kind of sweep back and have kind of broader profile up front, narrowing down to that tail. I don't know. Possibly even wrap here once or twice, crisscross in the back. I don't know. We'll see. Little head cement on those thread wraps. It is similar to another remnant fly that I did not too long ago, a chartreuse looking thing. I did like how the mallard in the back turned out pretty well. So we'll see. I will get this out this fall and give this one a try. So that's the latest remnant fly, kind of a streamer, odd looking thing. There you go. Thanks for watching today. Thanks for joining me at the Vise today. I hope you learned at least a new pattern, if not a new technique, maybe a tip or trick here and there. If you have any questions about this fly or any of the techniques used in constructing this pattern, please leave them in the comments section down below. If you go to the trouble to ask a question, I'll go to the trouble to answer it. If you'd like to help dressed irons, please share this video with your friends and anybody you think that might enjoy this pattern. Until next time, remember, it's fly tying. If you're not having fun, then you're doing it wrong.